And go. Welcome back, Speed Shak Garage. I'm Mike. This is Daniel, and we have the front off
Again.
off again. All right, guys. I know we said we probably weren't going to be taking it off, but I had some ideas floating around, and you know what's better than just having two lights, even more lights, plus some more lights. So we're mounting a whole bunch of lights today. So we took the nose off because we wanted to get to our wiring, and we have the whole wiring harness for the headlights done up, ready to go. So we're going to be getting some clamps in here, getting that all set up. Some special turn signals we'll show you. But first, we're going to get to the coolest part of the Baja, is some underglow. We're bringing back the 90s, early 2000s. A couple days ago, I started installing it. It's a pain in the butt. So we're going to jump to that footage. We're going to show you the final product. So stay tuned. We'll roll that stuff. All right, let me paint a good picture for you of this. This is your control box, and you have the option of hardwiring it, which we're going to do because I already wired in switches, so we just hook these up to our switch, and that'll work out perfect. And I have metal shavings already on my phone. I haven't even worked on any metal yet. What I was thinking is it's going to Y off one on each side, and that I had to snake it back and around because you have a long section and a short section, but they actually did think it through. So if I split it, you come to your first set of lights. One side has the short one lined up and the other side has the long one. And then the last on the end of them is the same. You have one short one and one long one. So that way you can run the short one that's first is going to be in the front or wherever you're wiring it. But we're going to put this one up front and then run it back to the long one, which I think is it's smart. Didn't think they thought it that through, but if you ever get a kit like this, check to see the lengths, because then you'll know, all right, this needs to go in the front, wherever the wiring goes, and that's the side, and then this is the other side, and this is going to be the back. So now the plan is to figure out how to run the wires through here without letting them get dangled, caught, whatever, because we're going to be off-roading. I don't want them to get ripped out. And then wiring this in, but that's easy because I already got a switch done. So when I was doing the wiring in the Bug, I promise you this does not look as bad as it is. It all makes sense. Oh, there's the remote. But it all makes sense to me. It's not that bad. It won't take much to clean up. But we have our switches back here. Whoop. And there they are in. And I foresaw this, so I have some rock light. So even though these aren't rock lights, it's underglow. Rock lights to me or anything underneath the car. That'll work. And also, if you haven't seen our video on doing a dash, kind of threw one up there of how we kind of built it, installed it, and what it took. So go check that out. We'll put the link there. Thank you, Daniel. But we have it come through, and I already ran power. All of these switches have power. So all of these switches do have power. Already ran to them, and then these are the leads running off of them. And yes, they're just hanging out here, but that's because there's no power to these unless you flip the switch. So all I have to do is find the rock light one, which I think is this one, throw a spade connector on it, and we have power done. So again, the wiring looks terrible. I just keep looking at it, and it's a lot. I said it wasn't a lot, but it is. Anyway, so if you're ever doing it, it's just good, pre-wire some of that stuff in because you're going to probably be doing this or wiring any kind of light in at all. So let's sort out where we're going to run these because I got the power sorted already. That's easy. Got the mounting situation pretty much sorted, and now it's just running them through to make sure they don't fall out. These are also the clips they provided. So it's just plastic ones with little screws. Honestly, I think these will do it. And these are the size of the light, so it'll nicely hold it. I'm not going to try to make up my own when they already gave you something. But yeah, I'm going to start sorting out where these are going to go. And then I'll come back and show you because I still don't know. All right, I'm going to show you coming back in with what I got so far. And I'm starting with the driver's side because I still haven't figured out how I want to mount up the front at all. The rear, I at least know where I'm going to mount them, and I'll show you because I think it's a nice little spot. So I'm glad I didn't fill some of my fender holes or bolt holes, where these little riv nuts ripped out. We're going to drop the wire through one of these because fortunately the lights fit through it, and our fender's going to be over that. So that'll be fine. I might end up just coming in here with like a clamp and using like this bolt hole where using where this bolt, it's hard to see because they're painted, but pulling this out, using a clamp, holding it there, and then we'll just run it down underneath, and you truly won't see much of it. I could even, because I know I have plenty of wire, I'll probably come back here, keep it under. I don't know. It's not exactly how I wanted it, but I think it'll hide pretty well because our fender wells are painted black, and I truly don't want to drill any more holes than I need to because I thought about just popping it out right under here, but then I didn't want to have there. So we're just going to go with that. I think I'll be fine with it because I didn't want to go through our pan, definitely. So that's right. Yeah. So, we have our heater channel here. I don't want to drill up through the floor and then have stuff stick it through. So I'm going to try to keep it in this area because this is not functioning anymore anyway. So I have it blocked off. So coming down, we have this kind of area to work with. And that's perfect. Because I think, actually now looking more, yeah, we're going to have to put it right here. So we're going to have this sitting up just like that. Now it's hard to see, but it's going to be on the right there. So we'll clean this up, use that double-sided tape to stick this. And that way, too, it's kind of protected because we'll have this lip. And in the future, I'm going to be putting some sliders. But this lip there, so the lights will be up under it. Okay. Hopefully that all made sense because I kind of made it up as I went. Now, this is the only part I am excited about. The rear one is perfect. So we're here in the back of the bug. And, you have this piece here. Well, underneath is a perfect lip. And this thing sits in there nicely. It's tucked in there. And it's the length of the entire, it goes from here all the way to there. And that's what I want. I really don't like when you can see I thought I just scratched it all up. I really don't like when you can see these like hanging or you can tell where they're at because it's kind of ugly. So I'm hoping on the sides they get tucked up in there enough to where they're high enough and tucked in that the light disperses. And by the time you see it, you don't see individual lights. You just see a disbursement of lights. And that's the goal when you're doing underglow, is to try to get it actually as high as you can and tucked in there, because then that light isn't as close to the ground and it won't be as dispersed as would it be if it was higher up. And that's some light science for you. I'll probably be able to show you because I'm going to get this side done up and then I'll kind of show how it looks and then we'll work on the other front end. All right, we just found a semi-clean rag. Get this all cleaned up for the adherent, so it can adhere properly. So yeah, just wipe it down. Looking good. All right, this is where we're going to start and get a good idea of where it's going to end, which is down here. So then it's going to come all the way up front. That is the perfect length. I'm going to start down the back. I'll show you. I'm going to start down here because this is like, I can't go past this anyways, our like old jacking point. So I'm going to have to feed. All right, so we got to pull out this real quick. Because basically the less I have to use of drilling holes and clamps, that would be nice. So feed it through here. We're going to leave it like that. And then our wiring is there and it's held up. You still capturing all of it? Yeah. Okay. Now, we're going to peel this back. And again, this is just to temporarily hold it because I wouldn't trust this. And I'm going to keep it for a long period of time. I don't know. It's actually pretty sticky. And I pulled it out maybe like a half inch from the railing. You could see that because those brackets are going to need some place to be screwed to. I don't know why I'm doing this with the door open. Oh, yeah. I like how that landed, like right there. Yeah. So I wanted to avoid this hole because it pushes it down, which then you'll be able to kind of see it because the rest, you can't even tell it's there until that little bump. Not much I could do unless I pounded it out, but that double-sided tape is holding it really good, actually. We still, except for right there, we'll still use our brackets just because that is an insurance that none of this is going to fall. So there's our first set, and now I'm going to grab those screws, probably get my own self-tapping screws, and attach, so many. I don't know how many it came with, but I'm going to sparingly use them where they need to be, and hopefully those don't fall off. So we drill that hole, and now I have to use this little bitty screwdriver and these little bitty screws because I wanted to use some of my just self tappers I have, but I couldn't find any. And so I'm using the hardware they provided, which these screws are complete garbage. But once they're in there, I don't think I have anything to worry about. So we're going to get this other one done real quick. And instead of marking my holes, I'm doing it the easy way of just putting the bracket in there. And there we go. We're done for the day. I just broke my fucking drill bit. You gotta be kidding me. Well, now I can't really do anything because that is stuck in there. Great. Got one done. Cool. Well, I got that drilled at least. And if you try to use a drill on these, it just strips them clean. So you gotta use manpower. And it tightens up, so it's on there. Now I gotta sort out how I'm going to fix or how I'm going to do the rest or find a drill bit, whatever. But I got one down here and one down there. So basically, I'm going to leave it for now. Whatever. We're going to run the rear because I'll get a drill bit. I'm going to run it up because I'm not going to use any brackets because I'm not going to just drill straight through here. This, I'm not worried about. I think if I get it clean enough, that adhesive is really going to hold it and it's not going to get in the dirt or the mud because it's up higher. So let me snake the wires through how I want to run them and get it mounted. Okay, this one should be significantly easier. I already ran the wires up, kind of snaked them through the inner side of the bug. We'll throw some zip ties and it'll hold it because we're going to have a good amount of extra wire that I'm going to have to find a good place to tuck, which will probably just be up under here. So we have it all the way wired up to this point. We're going to give it another wipe down. Okay. Now, grab some zip ties. I'm going to climb under there and zip tie some things up. Zip tie up our extra wiring that's under here. Kind of bring it down and around, trying to hide it as best I can. So that's our goal, is to get it up into that hole where all your wires come out. It's just there's lots of wires in there. I got most of it all. I did get it all installed. It's a pain in the butt. I used the cheap screws they provided, which was terrible, and they kept breaking. Broke 3 drill bits, lost a couple screws,
Yeah.
and finally got it together. So I'm going to take you under here. I'm going to show you because the front end was definitely challenging. The sides were easy and the rear was easy. But I want to show you where I've mounted them and kind of how, because I know you just seen how they are wired and strung out. And now I'll show you how I got them all wired. So I'm going to take you under here. We're going to check out how they're all mounted up. All right. So this was definitely the cheapest kit on Amazon, and Daniel is making some good points. If you do order this kit that I showed you, just go buy new screws. The clips that they provide, the clamp things, they work okay. But new screws is definitely going to make your life a lot easier. So if we get underneath, let's see here. There is our side strips all done. As you can see, these were provided, and these are the screws provided. They are garbage, but I made them work for now. And it runs the full length all the way to there and ends. Whoa. I did peel off all the sticky on the back, so I got it to adhere to it, so that way it stayed there until I could get the clamps on, and that worked out awesome. I cleaned up the metal. It stuck really well. Then for all the wiring for running it from here up, it was snaked through some areas like in here. So that's part of the lighting wiring there. And then it goes over and up and in, and it goes to the front one. And that's the more difficult one that I did. So let's get some lights. And I'll take that. Whoa. And now we could see it's kind of a mess, but it works. Here's our front LED strip that actually runs up behind the booster, around the frame horn part, and then loops back up into here, right there. I did that because putting it here, it was too long, and also that's more or less the main, what you call like a skid plate. So if we mounted it there, it just got ripped off. So they're mounted up way up tight in there where it's not going to get damaged. And then our wiring runs from there up through one of the plugs inside the front of the bug. And the back was a lot easier. Ooh. So there's this wire, comes up through here, through that, and then snakes up, and we have our box receiver there and hardwired with a switch. So that's done. So the back, like I said, was a lot easier because I went, instead of going under the body, we went behind the little vent area. So it's just right in here. And that's only held on with the adhesive that they provided, and it hasn't fallen off yet. Make sure you clean it with alcohol and it'd be perfect. But that's basic wiring there, or basically how I ran it. Nothing too, well, it was complicated. The front was really difficult to try to make sure it wasn't going to get damaged off-roading and stuff. So tucking it up and in, it ended up working out really good. It still glows pretty well, which you'll see later. And the sides, super easy. Those are just down the sides of the pan. And then the back was a perfect fit for underneath this engine vent area. Yeah. It fits perfect in there. So if you get the exact kit, it fits perfectly. It all works. And we'll show you, it's got a remote to turn all the colors, everything. So we'll get to that. But now we are going to do some cool new turn signals. And I think that's a pretty cool idea I came up with, being that we're motorcycles and now Baja stuff. So we're going to show you that next. Now onto the front, the turn signals. We do have those cool new headlights that we got with the, if you've watched old videos, you know we had gotten them off Amazon. They're cheap, and they for some reason have 5 stars underneath. We don't know why, but they're cool. They're LED, they're bright, and they have a built-in turn signal. So we don't need to do this, but the main reason I want to do it is because more lights is better. And these fenders have always had these big holes where traditional Bajas, you would take your old turn signals from your fenders, mount them on here, and that's how you would do it. But with those integrated in our headlights, really didn't need it. But I wanted to fill these holes, and I didn't want to go through the trouble of filling them. So instead, I got online, realizing that a lot of guys in sports bikes, they buy and get rid of their big turn signals, and they buy these flush-mounted LED little turn signals. And I found these exact ones, and to me, they look almost identical, but a mini version of the turn signals on a bug. And they fit perfectly in the holes. And so all we're going to be doing is running them into there, which is not complicated whatsoever. And then we're going to be running our wires to our turn signals over here, or debating if we want to have them as running lights, because we already have our turn signals, and just having these on at all times is just an orange glow, which I kind of am more leaning towards. I think that's just a cool look. And so that's what we're going to do. So if you're building a Baja, you need turn signals, or you want to add extra lights, motorcycle turn signals, start looking them up, because it's really convenient. They're bright. We've tested how bright they are. They're going to work great. So we're going to get to wiring. So we got all the front off so we can access it. We're going to hook up our power and our ground, get these wired in, and then show a bit of how we're finishing up this front end. We're going to be installing the harness is in there. I built this myself, and now we're going to put some clamps up against this to hold it so it's nice and tucked in there. It's not going to be flopping around or anything, and that is our goal for today.
Yeah, loose wires cause fire.
Very much, because, yeah. All right, this is not complicated install at all. These are just screwed in. They have this giant nut, slips over the wire. So do this first before you wire everything up and forget to put this on. So we're going to have that on now to screw in and hold our turn signal. These wires, we're just going to tuck them, and I'm going to drill a hole through there, and they're going to just run through the fender right here. And actually, we're going to ground it to one of the bolts that holds the fender on itself. So we only need one wire to go through. So I'm going to start, get a hole drilled, get our ground wire with a little eyelet attachment thing so we can use the bolt and ground it. And then we're going to run our wire through and find our wire for the turn signal or the running lights. And I think I'm leaning towards running lights. So we're going to find that wire in the harness here and attach it. Some grommets. So I stopped at the Harbor Freight, and they have a whole box of grommets, just because we're running a lot of stuff through metal, and you don't want it to chafe on there. And so we're gonna try out these grommets. My mother-in-law.
Speaking of garments, make sure to go to our Etsy and pick up your Speed Shak merch.
Yes, we're in the process, and we're going to be getting more soon. So definitely check it out, because we're going to.
And the shirts that are on there now are probably, we're not going to say limited. We're not sure if we're going to repress them. So get them, because they might be collector's items in like 30 years.
Press that ground. Oh, that fit perfectly. Look at that. It's like a professional. Can barely see it. But it's going to keep that wire from getting messed up. And now we're going to just eyeball where that bolt's going to go. And you can see this is all we're going to be using to do that. So it's just the bolt's going to go through it, wire, hold it on. And these wires are so thin, so I usually strip it back more, and then I'll fold the wire over just to make it a little thicker.
Those LED ones it's crazy.
Oh, it's very thin. Yeah, so I'll take them and I'll fold it over. So that way, this was this long, then I folded it just to make it a little thicker, because these only go so small. I mean, I think you could probably get even smaller ones, but I don't have any. And then you get a little more wire in there, just long enough. So you can see it's going to pull nice and tight. And then this is our power wire going to our light. So that'll be there. And that's all you need. I have tested this, and that ground works, even though it's going into fiberglass. It eventually gets to the metal. Pretty sure this is our running lights. When I did it, the black was running, the blues are blinkers, because blue and blinker sounded the same.
Not like black and blinker.
Black and blinker. No, blue and... Oh, yeah, they're both bees. To me, blue blinker made sense.
Yeah, no, there's a logic
and I think
there.
we're wanting to hook them up as running lights, just because kind of cool, like the Raptors do it now. Everyone has those lights. So I'm going to turn it on. We're going to see if this turns on. And we'll turn the lights on. There you go.
Boom.
So there's one done. I guess we could show, like, if you wanted to, we can switch it to
the blinker.
But I think a running light is going to be cooler on these. We'll make sure those aren't touching. Now, if we do our blinkers, which one's that? That one. There we go. And it's blinking. So now we know which ones are which. It's time to bring them together. So the black one, and unfortunately I'm going to have to cut off all this stuff I did here. And we're going to basically put the two wires together and crimp on a new male connector and make it into one unit, essentially.
So we just scrapped the garage. We're tracking the garage because we've been working on this one. And
Daniel left the petcock open.
I left the petcock open.
He wrote it last.
I did write it last. I was thinking, what a dumb thing for Mike to do, but then it was me who actually did it.
All right, so I got our connectors. These ones have insulation already around them, which is great. I'll slide it over our two wires. And now we've joined those two wires together, and holy matrimony. The second side wiring, not as big of a fan, not as clean, I think, as this side where it pops out, tucked it into our harness, and then we just shoot it out there and connect it. This side, we kind of had to just bring it out, run it through there. This is where comes down here, over to that clamp to help hold it, and then drops it down. And there's our new spliced together. So I'm going to test it, but there's our clamps there and there, holding this up and underneath here so it'll be nice and covered and protected. It's not going to bounce around or anything. So I'm going to, anytime you're doing wiring, before you put everything back together, test it. So we'll turn the lights on, and there you have it. I love how simple this is. This isn't, anyone can do this. Like I said, I'm grounding it to the bolt on the fender, so that's easy. I don't have to run multiple wires, and then the other wire is just running right to my original harness. So now I've got a cool idea that I want to try involving some small LEDs, and we'll see how that works. Okay, so anyone that has a Volkswagen Bug knows that your dome light isn't the greatest. This is it. It usually just has a little incandescent light in here that flickers because it's a bad connection. And to me, it was just waiting to be a fire hazard because it just doesn't seem that safe. So we've pulled that out, and we still have the wiring and stuff running from the roof through the pillar down to the front of the car. And I thought, instead of trying to reinvent the wheel, we'll just pull this out, drill a hole. You know where this is going, is we're going to put another LED light in it. But instead of complicating things, I've drilled this hole, wired this in, and got lucky enough that it is the same size as our LED light. So I'm going to screw this in. And yeah, it's not the prettiest looking. It sticks out. But
I think it looks cool.
Yeah, I think it'll work out awesome. So you have a retrofitted LED light. No,
I think it'll give it really nice light inside too.
So we're going to wire it because I built it all. And this will just plug right into the stock wiring that's already there. So I'm going to do that and I'll show you. Here's our lights. There's our wires sticking out. And if you're doing this, there's actually 3 wires I found underneath it. One's going to be the power wire, and I believe these 2, one is going to be when you ground it out on just the switch itself, And the second one actually would go to your door switch, which these definitely have never worked, or I don't even have one in this door. So when the door opens, the light comes on. So we're just going to ignore that one, which I think was this one. And we're going to use these two to plug, I think it was those two. So basically, I'm just going to plug them in, the red to red and brown to black. And that's the only original part of the bug I'm going to use, because I think we're going to wire it down, because I have a row of switches here, and we're going to wire it into one of these switches. That way it's controllable right here. You're not reaching up here to try to turn something on, or they don't get left on. So we're going to plug that in, and before I shove it up in there, I want to make sure I got the right wires connected, and then we'll hit the switch and see if it works. As you can see, these wires, they come out way up in a little hole up here. They drop down. I'm going to try to figure out a cleaner way to do it, but there's our brown wire running to my common ground, and then there's the red one hooked up to the switch. Now hit the switch, that one.
This one?
Yeah. There we go. So we got the right one. So it works. So now we'll wrap up these because they're somewhat exposed. So we'll wrap those up, and then we'll just shove this back in there. But as you could see, very bright in here with that. Super easy, just converting it from that incandescent to the LED. The final installation of our new dome light, and these take nothing to pull in and out. There's just a little metal tab on this side. You just push it and pull your light out, so it's not that difficult to do. Now that's all done. You want to turn the key on, and then, oh yeah, that's probably just.
It's not too bad.
But yeah, for some reason, it really does illuminate the inside really well. Get the nose back on, because we're going to ditch those LEDs. We're going to turn the lights on, and we're going to show you finally the underglow and what it looks like and how cool it is. Well, at least how I think cool it is. It's pretty cool. And don't think we forgot the best part of this Baja bug that we've installed.
Party lights.